Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by singer, songwriter, the maker of that legal crack, and we're going to be talking about what that means, Mr. Amdia Manweka. I've been knowing Mr. Manweka for a while, been trying to get him on the show. Glad to have him here, so we're going to be talking to him about everything that he's up to and going to be up to. So Amdia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Appreciate you having me on there, Curveball.
Hey, why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, as you say, my name is Amdia Manweka, or to a lot of people who buy pecan candy from me, the Candyman, or Mr. Manweka, the Candyman, when I'm doing music. But basically, I'm just a guy who trying to leave it better than it was when I came here. Basically, if I could put it in a nutshell. Currently I'm doing music. Of course, Curtis was talking about the legal crack pecan candy. That's well, he didn't say pecan candy, but he was saying we're gonna talk about what legal crack is, which legal crack is they call the pecan candy that I sell. And basically they call it legal crack because one sample hit of my pecan candy, it keeps them coming back. Hence, it was a joke that they started saying I put crack in the pecan candy. That's why they get them addicted. And it changed from the joke of crack was in the candy to them calling it legal crack. And I adopted the name and I ran with it. And that's what everybody mostly call my candy now, legal crack. And I've been selling it for a while and actually about to hook up with my friend Curtis and start shipping some out there so he can start selling it in his store.
Yes, I told him he needed to. And I remember when I first met Amdia, he was telling me about his candy. And I knew about pecan candy, so I was like, yeah, I like it and stuff, but, sometimes it could be too hard. And he was telling me, oh, well, I make chewy candy too. I'm like, for real, chewy pecan candy? He let me taste it, and he got me hooked too, even before it was called legal crack.
Yeah, he was hooked way before the legal crack days.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So tell us how you came up with the name Amdia Manweka.
Okay. Now, the name Amdia is an acronym, but it started off as two separate words. OM is the chant of the monks. And DIA, I was in DIA was in a West African book, a book called Names, West African Names, one time that I had. And I was just looking at the book. And I always just liked the DIA for some reason. I just liked the deal. And I don't know, me being me, messing around one day, I don't know how I came to the conclusion of putting OM and DIA together, but I ended up putting the Chant of the Monks with their West African name, per the book was saying, DIA, and I put them together and it became Amdia. So, Manweka, a lot of people think it's not true, but it's a very true story. I mean, I had no intentions on having a last name at all. Like, people were like, oh, what's your last name gonna be? And I was like, I don't need a last name. I'm just gonna go by Amdia, you know? So one night playing Scrabble, because I used to play a lot of Scrabble, and people didn't never want to challenge me because every time they challenged me on the words that I put on the board, they would lose. Because what they didn't know, since I was a kid, I always loved reading dictionaries. So that's why I knew a lot of words that you don't even normally see on a regular. So if a person see it for the first time, they're gonna swear that's not a word. So I had the letters to spell out Memweqa, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to spell, so I just put MEMWEQUA down on the board, and in hopes that nobody would challenge it, because everybody was always scared to challenge it, because every time they would challenge a word, they would lose. So when I put it down, they were looking at it. Everybody did the normal. Are you gonna challenge them? You gonna challenge them? Oh, I ain't gonna challenge them all. We lose. So no one challenged it. So when the game was over, they did what they normally do when they don't challenge. They ran straight to the dictionary to go look up to see if the word was in there. Now every other time prior to Memweqa, they go to the dictionary, they see the word, they were like, see, that's why I want to challenge. This night, they didn't see Memweqa in the dictionary. So now they were saying, oh, you got us, you got us, you got us. And I'm like, no, I ain't got y'all. That's a word for real. And it was like, man, that's not no word. It's not in the dictionary. So me being me, I was like, and it ain't got to be in the dictionary to be the word. I said, it's a word that I made, and it's going to be my last name. So it's a real word. It's just not in the dictionary, but it's a real word. And that's how the last name Memweqa came, because I actually took Memweqa and made it my last name, because it was sounding cool to me. Like, I'm Dear Memweqa. I'm like, man, that sounds kind of cool. That sounds kind of dope. You know what I'm saying? Even if it don't sound cool and dope to nobody else, it sounds cool and dope to my ears, which is the ears that matter the most, because it's gonna be my name. So I changed it to I'm Dear Memweqa. Now, I always had a thought process, even as a kid, because my mom would tell people that in a minute. I think when I was like in kindergarten or the first grade, maybe the second grade or something, I came home from school one day and told my mom I ain't like my name and I wanted to change it. So changing my name was always in me. But a certain situation came up that presented itself for me to go ahead and change it, because I actually changed my name to help somebody else out. Now, I changed my name during my unfortunate period of incarceration. And it had this guy, he was a Islamic guy, Muslim, and he went to change his name. But the state of Florida had came up with something about you couldn't, some kind of rule or law they was coming up with during that time about you can't change your name. And the guy was asking me what could he do about it. So I was working in the law library at the time. So, I did some research on it, and I was telling them, I think I found something that I can get you where, on appeal, you can get overturned and you'll be able to keep your name. But of course, I understood he didn't really want to do it because, in prison, they ain't like the most welcoming place for people who are actually filing motions and stuff, So they was going to probably come down on him or something. And so he didn't want to mess with it. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and file a petition to change my name. And of course, they're going to deny it because of that rule, which gives me the opportunity to, appeal it. And I'm going to fight it. And we're going to win. I say, and I just take the flag. You know what I'm saying? Because that just was me. And I really wanted to, because I don't know. I really wanted him to be able to keep his name, because I was like, I found a way that I know you can win, but I understand, because when we up in here, this not really about rehabilitation. It's about wanting us to be recidivistic and come back. But that's a whole different story for a whole nother time. But that's the fact of the matter. So, of course, they don't try to bring, they going to, and you try to change stuff and challenge stuff, they're going to bring some heat on you. So I took the heat. I went, filed a petition to make my name I'm Dear Memweqa. Of course, they ruled against it. I got into the appellate court and ended up winning. And so now people was able to change their names. That was back like in 96, 95, something like that. But that's how I ended up changing my name. I ended up changing my name. Although I always wanted to change my name, the opportunity actually became presented to me because of somebody else who was going through something. And I found out a way that they can actually win. And so I just put myself out there to test market. And so now my name is I'm Dear Memweqa. And I honestly can't remember what the other guy's name was, but he was able to keep his name. And then people there after that, they was able to change their names and, they could keep it. Because, I understand why they were trying to create the rule, but at the same time, it was a silly rule to me. And I was like, man, come on now. Y'all already trying to strip us of everything. Although some of us made mistakes and put ourselves here, and some of us ain't did nothing because there's so many people incarcerated that they ain't even did the crime. But I understand, we put the ones of us who put ourselves in there. I understand y'all ain't trying to make it all good and stuff for us, but at the same time, come on now, a name change. So, that's how that came about though. So since 1996, I have been Amdia Mweka. And OMDIA, I even turned it to an acronym, which means one man doesn't individually achieve.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. So as much as you want to, or even if you don't want to, I understand, kind of tell people about your incarceration, what got you there and how you bounced back and what you learned, from your incarceration.
All right. In a nutshell, my own stupidity put me there. I call it my own stupidity because I allowed my anger to get the best of me. And then my anger getting the best of me, I ended up shooting somebody. Now, for the record, I'm not going to say he was no saint or nothing that I ended up shooting. I'm not bragging about it because I'm just saying the person that I ended up shooting, he wasn't no saint. He was all in some all kind of other stuff. And that's how it really ended up happening because he kind of thought he had a sucker, as they say in the streets. And, tried to play me some kind of way and all that. And again, it still didn't have to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? It actually should have been, if it was anything that should have happened, it should have just been a fight. And I'm going to say on my part, he would have deserved the butt whooping that I would have gave him. Because like I said, it wasn't like he was no saint. And he did open the doors, what led down the wrong path of me getting so angry I shot him. But I'm glad I didn't kill him. I would be lying if I said that wasn't my intentions at that moment, but I'm glad my intentions didn't get fulfilled, because it should have never my anger should have never drove me that far to where I ended up shooting. If anything, it should have just been a fight. Some people might say it shouldn't have been that, but nah, because what led up to it, he deserved the butt whooping. He deserved that, but he ain't really deserved to get shot unless he would have been threatening my life. And really and truly, he wasn't really threatening my life. It was just I allowed my anger to get the best of me, and some issues that I thought wasn't in me was still there. So it presented me the opportunity to realize what I thought wasn't there was there, and I was able to work on it. So, I have a better control of that anger that got out of control that day and led me to do that. Plus, it has also allowed me to actually help some other people because I'll be seeing them in situations since I've been out, people I'm close to or stuff. And I can see where their anger about to take them somewhere, and I'll present to them my story. I say, look, you don't want to end up like me. My anger took me to the penitentiary. I don't want to see you allow your anger to do the same thing to you. And I can see that from live experience of what I went through. So I'll be presenting a different alternative to them and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, it was my anger. I didn't have to shoot the guy, but it ended up, I didn't have to even want to have the intent to kill him. But hey, we all make our mistakes and stuff in life. So when I did go to prison, you know, I just looked at it as, well, I put myself in the position, but I'm gonna make the best of it. So I wasn't a rowdy prisoner or nothing like that. Heck, actually to me, I was rebellious, but I was rebellious in a good way, from the standpoint of I rebelled against allowing myself to adopt a prisoner's mentality or inmate's mentality, etc. Because accepting that type of mentality is one of the leading causes of people end up recidivistically coming back, because all they thinking of themselves is an inmate or a criminal. And so they start saying, yeah, when I get out, I'm going to do the same things and stuff like that. And especially with some of the things they would try to do, the guards and the institution try to do to you, because it's set for you to try to prove a point to them, like, you can't break me. Because one of the mantras that used to go through in the prison through a lot of people's minds, I used to hear them say is that, yeah, they can't break me. I'm going to go back out and do the same thing. But they didn't understand that was really the game plan, to make you so mad to show them, you can't straighten me up. You can't do nothing. I'm going to still be the same person when I come out. And being the same person when you come out, a lot of them was coming back in. Some of them were doing 10 years, just did 5 years. And here I did one, going on my second year, and some of them coming back. And I'm like, man, you just did 10 years. And now you back a year later? You did 5, you back. But I started understanding the mentality that a lot of them was having. Because they adopted, they was an inmate. They adopted, they was a criminal. They adopted what the prison system wants you to adopt mentally, so that you can 9 times out of 10 recidivistically come back. So I rebelled against that, because the whole time I was like, although I was stupid and put myself here, this ain't the place to be. And I know when I get out, I'm gonna make sure to tell any and everybody this ain't the place to be, and I'm not coming back. Which I haven't been back. I got out in 1997. It's 2025. I've never been back. I kept that promise to myself. But while I was in there, like I said, I made the best of it. I ended up working in the law library, which I learned that makes you an enemy, because that's why I tell people, you might have a lot, you might disagree, but I went through the prison system. So that's why I speak like this about it. I know it's not designed to rehabilitate you because of the things I was going through. Working in the law library, it gave me the opportunity to help people with their cases and stuff. And I was noticing that, the system had an over sentence a lot of people. Like some people were coming to me, they're supposed to go. But because the system is always trying to burn people, because they know a lot of people don't know nothing. They don't be knowing the pleas they be signing. They don't be knowing this, that, and other. And judges and stuff sometimes sentence you to what they want. Because in my case, I went to trial and I lost the trial. But the sentence that the judge gave me was still too much. It was too much based off of me. And although when they gave me the sentence, in my mind, I thought it was right. Because, I said, I shot somebody, so, But I was a first-time offender, had no record or nothing like that. So in Florida, they had a certain point system. And you scored to a certain amount, and that's what they got to sentence you to. Unless you was an habitual offender, or if you committed a crime so heinous that the point system could be thrown out. Well, I didn't fall under neither one of them categories, Even though somebody might say, well, you shot somebody, that could be as heinous. That's not what's considered heinous under, they're so heinous that you could just throw the point system out. I was a first-time offender, and so I ended up getting over sentence, and I learned all that when I went to prison and was in the law library. And so that's where my other rebellious part of me came. Not trying to be a troublemaker, but I was like, okay, y'all want us to, in this society, y'all want us to abide by the laws and the rules And if we don't, you know, we have to suffer consequences and stuff like that. But I was looking at it from the standpoint that the courts always have this thing called procedures of conduct or procedures of rules and stuff, like books that, you know, that rules and regulations that they supposed to abide by, right? But most times they wasn't. And I know for particularly in my case, because the judge didn't abide by the rules, because the judge used emotionalism. You know what I'm saying? That's why I be telling people, you know what I'm saying? When I hear people saying, it's the only system I got, I say, that's a sorry thing, though, because you got to think about it. When you looking at judges and stuff, they saying your honor and all that because you wearing a robe, how do I know you are an honorable person? How do I know you didn't over-sentence somebody like the judge who over-sentenced me when he knew he was sentencing me too much? And how I know that, because here 6 months later, working in the law library, I learned that my sentence was too much. And I'm like, okay, you are a judge. So that means you done went to college, law school, all this. You've been doing this for years. So you knew you was over-sentencing. Here I know you know this, because 6 months later, I done learned reading y'all rules and stuff. So you use emotionalism to sentence me because you was mad because I wouldn't take a plea that you wanted to give. A plea that was really more than what I scored out to. Because in the end, even going to trial and losing, the most they was supposed to give me was 3 years. They exceeded that sentence. The plea that they were coming to me exceeded the 3-year sentence. And all this is known by the judge and the district attorneys, because you can't tell me y'all don't know this stuff. And here I just, in 6 months in prison, in a law library, I learned all this. So y'all knew all that. So that's the blatant disregard y'all have of your own rules and regulations. So that what made me a rebel as far as as working in the law library. When I was finding out people was over sentenced and all that, I was getting them back in court. And I was getting them back in court from the standpoint of, listen, I accept my sentence. And I accept if you give anybody else a sentence in here if they did something wrong. What I cannot accept, though, is that y'all not going to follow y'all rules and regulations, but y'all want us to do the same thing in society. If we don't follow the rules and regulations, we have to suffer consequences. But y'all don't want to follow your own rules and regulations, and you just want to just say, well, he's supposed to be sentenced to 3 years. I'm going to give him 7. Or I'm going to give him 10. Or I'm going to give him 15. And wonder why a lot of people don't trust the judicial system. Because no matter what you try to say, that's human beings. And all human beings have some kind of infallibility to them. All human beings are subject to being a human at some time. So whether you wear a robe or a uniform, whatever, that's what people get messed up at. You forget that that person that is in that uniform or whatever ain't nothing but a human just like you. They could make mistakes. They could be judgmental like you. They could lie like you and all that. People be thinking because you wear certain outfits, you are supposed to be so honorable. But I have the mindset of, how do I know you are honorable just because you got that uniform or that on? You know, I've had good experiences with judges and officers and stuff in life, but I've had bad too. So that's why I look at it. I look at all human beings as a human being. I don't look at your titles. I don't look at what you wear, nothing like that. I say because that what blinds us. We get caught up in titles and stuff, and we forget that's a mere mortal human being just like us. So they can still mess up too and make mistakes. So don't just think because a person has a certain position, they are just automatically an honorable person. You have to see their actions and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But so like I said, I learned that that's why when I say rebel, I'm saying I wasn't a rebel trying to cause problems in prison. I wasn't trying to be fighting people, trying to fight guards and all that. I was focused on wanting to go home. But I was a rebel because I was learning that y'all over sentencing people, or y'all giving people sentences they weren't supposed to have, or y'all done coerce these people into signing plea bargains that they should have never signed. And I'm helping them get back in court. But what I found out, that made me an enemy because the institution didn't like that. Same way they didn't like I made them have to keep the GED program open because I used to help tutor students up in there. But they didn't want us to have GED and all that. Because like I said, it's not about rehabilitation. It's about recidivism. They don't want you to learn or nothing like that. So they shut the GED program down, and I had to fight to get it back up. But I got it back up, which made them definitely didn't like me up in there. So I wasn't really that liked by the penal institution because I was helping people, which I felt good about that from the standpoint of I would rather you not liking me for doing the right things than you like me for doing the wrong stuff. You see what I'm saying? So I never felt bad that the institution was against me because I was like, I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm in the law library, learning about the law, learning that the judicial system and stuff that burnt some of these people. So I'm just helping to correct wrongs. So if that makes me an enemy to y'all, then that's a good thing because I'm not doing nothing wrong. Now, if I was in here fighting, doing drugs, trying to rape and all this kind of stuff, y'all would be patting me. That's what y'all want me to be, an animal up in here. But I was rebellious against becoming an animal because I felt I made a mistake. I put myself here. I ain't blame nobody. I wasn't running around saying I was a victim of the system, even though I was from the sense of they over-sentenced me. But I wasn't going around there, I'm a victim and all that. No, I was stupid and I got myself put here. But I made the best of it. I learned some stuff. I helped some people. And when I got out, I was able to use my experiences to share with people so they try to point them in a direction and not go there. So that's why I got this mentor, I call her a mentor, She one time was telling me, when I was telling somebody about I had been in prison and all that, she said, ooh, I'll be ashamed. I would never want to tell anybody I've been in prison or nothing like that. And I told her, well, I'm not ashamed about it. I'm not proud. It's not like it's a proud thing. Oh, I'm proud. I'm trying to present to the people I'm bad. Oh, I've been to prison. No, I told her I present to people because when I tell people, sometimes they are shocked. They be like, you don't even look like you've been to prison. Or I can't believe that. And I'm trying to show them because it's an image that they always try to present. That's why most everybody was like, you don't even look like a prisoner. And my response really, what does a prisoner look like? Because I've been to prison. So apparently I do look like a prisoner. But I get what they're saying because they try to present this image to society of what a prisoner is supposed to look like. And I was just like, no, a prisoner can look like anybody. Because any one of us can make a mistake and get locked up. You know what I'm saying? I said, but I share the story with them because I show them just because we make mistakes don't mean we have to be defined by our mistakes or we live stuck in a stuck pattern by our mistakes. We make our mistakes, we learn from them, we elevate and we rise. Well, I learned from my mistake, I elevated and I rise. So, like I said, I use it even with some of the young dudes around here, because I got some things I'm going to be doing working with the youth. But I be telling them about, man, you don't want to go to prison. And I share my prison story with them. And I be telling them, see, you got certain individuals who come out here and glorify it to you. And they doing an injustice because they giving you a glory report and it's looking beautiful to your eyes and the impressionable young mind that you have. So you will have some thoughts that, yeah, I need to go to jail or go to prison because it's fun. But I be telling them, ain't nothing fun about that. Ain't nothing. When you there, your goal is to get out, so you can't let your mind crack, and you got to make the best of it, which is unfortunate. You got to make the best of it, but you got to do whatever it is to come out with your mind intact and don't return. But I let them know that ain't the place to be. I'm not even out here trying to sell no great tales about it. You know what I'm saying? I let them know this ain't the place to be. Change your mind frame. And that's why I'm trying to work with them because this week that's coming up, I got a young brother finna be working with me. He got himself in a little trouble. A little young dude, caught up, and he went to this little group home thing. And I think he spent and I know he was in there for at least 6 months or something like that. He out now, and his mom and them and all of them, they always buy candy from him. And his mom was talking to me about it. And she was like, her son was saying like, he was wondering if I could have a job or something for him so he can make some money and stuff for the summer. And I told her, yeah, I could do that for him. Because I was looking at it from a standpoint of he could work with me, I could try to, put good stuff in his head. And one of the reasons why he reached out to me, because I always did talk good to him. So I guess, he was looking at like I'm an older guy. Like some other older guy was like being like a little bad influence on him, from what I was understanding. I guess he was looking at me like an older dude that's not trying to tell him no crazy stuff and, trying to guide him in the right way. So I figured if you work with me for the summer, because I'm going to be teaching him how to become an entrepreneur and stuff like that and have one under my wing and, point him in the right direction and put him in a position to make some legitimate money. But he ain't got to be out here trying to go sell dope and stuff like that. And on a slick, it's like a challenge that I'm doing. It's like my own self-imposed challenge of, okay, if we want to really save our youth, then we got to actively start doing stuff. So I'm like, if you see me trying to, help a young brother for the summer so he can make money legitimately and teach him how to, grow up to become a business owner and stuff like that. And which it got another brother too, who reached out to me. He said, man, if you got anybody else, send him my way because he want to have one under him. And when others see the little brother working with me, they might want to go take some other young brothers under their wings too and work with them and, show them how to make money legitimately or teach them how to be a business owner and stuff like that. But that's what I'm working on now because, like I said, I try to use all my experiences from my bad ones to try to make sure these youth, especially the ones who I have the opportunity to really talk to and I see, they want to listen. That's why I don't subscribe to that philosophy about the young don't want to listen. I'm like, yeah, you got someone want to listen. We just have to be willing to talk. Now we got, of course you got to be smart, but sometimes, they might not want to hear it. But if you see somebody, they got a lot of them that are receptive out there and they want to hear good stuff from you, and they'll gravitate to you, So I'm working on that for the summer. So that's part of I'm using my unfortunate incarceration to do some fortunate stuff with it. So I share my stories. And a lot of the dudes be like, man, I can't believe you went to prison. I can't believe you shot somebody and all that. I say, nah, don't take this story I'm sharing with you as a story of bragging or for you to go running around like rah, rah, rah. No, I'm sharing this with you because I'm letting you know. I know what it's like. I know what it is. I know what it feels like to be out there and stuff like that. Because that's how I ended up shooting the dude because it was kind of like a delayed, how would I put this? Some delayed stuff that was still in me from being out there, trying to be a so-called wannabe gangster and wannabe. You know what I'm saying? Caught up in that wannabe gangster phase, but so that's how that part of me that wasn't in me, I thought wasn't there no more, was there, and that's how I ended up going so far and shooting that guy that night. But went through it, overcame, and now I'm trying to use it to the best of my ability to try to help others to keep from going to prison.
Absolutely. And we got like about 10 minutes left, but I want to get into your music so we can let the listeners know, so talk real quick, how you got into music and what you got out there and how they can listen to it.
All right. As far as music, I got into doing music by way of inspiration. No, by way of inspiring somebody, and they came back and inspiring me. Back in the 80s, me and a friend of mine, we was calling ourselves rappers and stuff like that. So we used to have this thing called rap school. And in rap school, we had like some guys and like a dude named Tamiko Brock and Fat Daddy, which is his name, Brian Banks, but some dude like that. But Tamiko Brock was the name I called him most because later on in life, he he was still doing music and recording and stuff. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't thinking about music or nothing like that. I said, so when I walked up in there selling pecan candy, Tamiko Brock had seen me, and they had like this Rap Legends thing on, and they had Run DMC on there. So he started telling everybody in the room, see how Run DMC or Rap Legends to them people? He was like, that man right there, and my partner Bug Juice, he said, those are Rap Legends to me. He said, because them cats taught me how to rap. And everybody was like, what? So from that, he was asking me what I'm doing with music, and he told me he had a studio at his house, and that he always wanted to see me do music. I had no intentions on trying to do it or nothing like that, but he kept pestering me, and not in a bad way. He just really wanted to see me put something out. So for the fun of it, I just decided I'm going to go to your house and record a song. This is how I had it in my mind. I'm going to record a song, and then it's going to be out the way. You're going to finally see me be the record a song, and that's going to be that. But his whole thing, like he told me, he said he knew I was clowning at first just to appease him. He said, but he always knew that if he get me to come to the studio and I start recording, I was going to end up getting serious. And his plan worked. So it went from playing around, and then I eventually made a song about the candy that I sell, pecan candy, and we called the song Legal Crack. Put the song out, and people were loving the song. And I was like, man, I'm like, wait a minute here. Maybe. So I ended up doing a couple of more Candyman songs. I got a song called Legal Crack, which MRMEMWEQUA, Mr. Memweka, the DA, and then Candyman. You type that in, you can pull all my music up. I got 3 different Legal Crack songs. One is called Legal Crack, which was the first song. The second song was Candyman, which is a play on NWA's Dope Man, but I'm flipping it like I'm the Candyman, the legal crack dealer. And the other one called Candyman Rock With Me, which that's my favorite of the 3. So it went from there, and people was liking them until I just started making more songs. And so now I'm like, I'm not gonna say I would push my music like I should. When I first started in 2018, I was really pushing. But then I got lackadaisical with it, and my own worst enemy got in the way, which always used to get in the way in life for me on certain things. But now I'm officially not over it. But I'm back to putting my music. I got a song that I just released called Yellow Dress on May 11th. It's a true story song. It's a true story about one day in May of last year, when a guy who saw a woman that was very dear to his heart, looking absolutely stunning in a yellow dress. And the great thing about this song, somebody got me to make this song as a birthday gift for a woman that he liked, that he actually saw in the yellow dress. And he wanted me to create a song to recapture that moment to give to her for a birthday gift. Well, I created the song. We presented to her on her birthday. She loved it. You know what I'm saying? She was happy. She never had a song made about her in life. And the thoughtfulness that the guy thought of to actually have a song made for her to be a birthday gift, which is a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? That's like, I don't know if anybody else ever did that before, could have, but I know in this scenario, to me, it was so beautiful because I'm like, man, that's really thinking out the box. You know what I'm saying? You got a song, and then you got the perfect person to do it. Because, hey, it ain't bragging if it's truth. And lyrically creative, I can really be sometimes in this life. So he came to the right man. So if you ever anybody who's listening to this, you go listen to Yellow Dress, you are listening to a true story about a guy who saw a woman that's very dear to his heart, looking very stunning in a yellow dress. And they are now dating. That makes it even more beautiful to me, that I created something that actually helped a couple to begin.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And there might be some people out there that want to link up with you, man, might want to be mentored or you to do a song for them. Throw out your contact info so people can keep up with everything that you're up to.
All right. Well, if you want to contact me by phone, just like I say my number in my Legal Crack song, 225-385-2734. That's my phone number. Email, I got a Gmail. So it's mrmemweqa@gmail.com. MRMEMWEQUA@gmail.com. And all my social medias are basically Facebook is, well, it's either Omdia, OMDIA, Memweqa, or you can type in Mr. Memweqa the Candyman. That's my music artist page on Facebook. Instagram is my name, Omdia Memweqa, or you type in Mr. Memweqa. TikTok, the same thing, Mr. Memweqa the Candyman. So basically, you can find me, type in Omdia Memweqa or Mr. Memweqa the Candyman, or if you want to call me, 225-385-2734. And make sure to go check out Yellow Dress, y'all, because you're going to really love it.
Yeah, man, y'all go check out that song. That song is hot. If you need anything, any candy, any Mr. Memweqa's cooking, or contact him, hook up with him. I really like the things that he is doing, man. Keep up the good work. And, you guys make sure you follow me on your favorite platform. Visit www.337 or curveball337.com. So curveball337.com for more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Mr. Memweqa, thank you for trying to make the world a better place. And thank you for joining me.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I'm very proud because, we go way back. So I know, what I'm saying? I've been watching the evolution of you. So I'm very proud of what you're doing. You always been a go-getter. You always been a manifester. And keep on living your dream and helping people live their dreams.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.